All right. Hey, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Let me see if I get this. Let's see. Should be getting audio. All right. Hey, if anybody can't hear me, let me know, okay? Hi, Andy. Thanks for dropping by. Can you hear me okay? Just want to make sure the audio is not, you can hear. All right. Excellent. Last time the audio was a little squirrely, so I just wanted to make sure I didn't have that problem again. Just moving a monitor a little bit so I can be looking closer to the camera as I'm reading the comments. Hi, everybody. Thanks for swinging by. I got home from a run. My family is out for a hike at the moment. I've got some free time, so I thought I'd swing by and say hi, see how everybody's doing. And I've got my little, okay. The mic is usually pretty sensitive, so it should be okay. Go Broncos. It's been a long time since I've seen the Broncos do well. I was living in Longmont, Colorado in 97 and 98, so I got to watch them win 2 Super Bowls in a row, which was great. I was tickled and annoyed to see Ted Lasso make fun of those 2 Super Bowl wins in a row, but I enjoyed them. So greetings from Atlanta. Hi, Daniel. Atlanta's a wonderful place. It's been too many years since I've been there. 6 or 7 years. I got to get back there at some point soon. Hi from Scotland. Hello. It's been a while since I've been to Scotland too. I wasn't there last year. I was in the UK, but I didn't end up going to Scotland. The last time I was in Scotland, I think was 2016. But I need to get back sometime soon. Greetings from New Zealand. Hi, Jace. Oh, man, New Zealand is definitely a place on my list. I want to get out there at some point soon. Hi, Keith in San Diego. I'll be in San Diego next November. The weekend before Thanksgiving, there'll be a big conference, the Society of Biblical Literature's annual meeting. It's in San Antonio this year. It'll be in San Diego next year. So that's always the one everybody's looking forward to. Hi from Michigan. Hi, Elizabeth. I will be in Michigan at Adrian College in October. I've been invited out to their campus. That will be my first time in Michigan apart from just being in the airport. So I'm looking forward to that. Hi, Eve in Northern Ireland. Oh man, there's another place I need to visit. I love golf, and I've played golf in Scotland. I've played golf in England. I've never played golf in Northern Ireland. I'm looking forward to getting out there someday. Hi, Jared in Wisconsin and John in Seattle. Hi, Corey in Maine and Tom in Canada. I did one of my master's degrees in lovely Langley, BC, just outside of Vancouver, which was a gorgeous area. And I need to get back there at some point. Hi, Billy in Florida and Vishanti in sunny SoCal. I need to get out to SoCal again, too. My dad believes that Ezekiel 18:20, the soul that sins shall die, proves original sin is biblical. That was certainly never a reading that was arrived at by ancient Jewish readers. Original sin is something that develops within early Christianity as a way to kind of philosophically systematize everything that was going on. Hi, Jesse in New York. Oh, it's been a long time since I've been to New York as well. I'm looking forward to getting out there sometime soon. Hello, Only in Belize. I hope you are doing well. I hope the weather's treating you nice down there. Everything refreshed. Can you post a summary list of books of basic scholarly work for basic information? Rhonda, normally what I do when it comes to basic information is recommend some introductions, some commentaries, and a wonderful book by John Barton called A History of the Bible. So I would start with A History of the Bible. I would get a good study Bible. The one that I recommend for folks who want the Hebrew Bible and the New Testament is the New Oxford Annotated Bible. It has a 5th edition. I think that's the newest one right now. I would recommend that one. Or if you want just the Hebrew Bible, I would recommend the Jewish Study Bible, which is in a 2nd edition. And then if you want to, as you progress through reading that kind of stuff, you might look at an introduction. Introduction to the Hebrew Bible by John Collins is wonderful. An Introduction to the Old Testament by David Carr is also great. And then Bart Ehrman's A Brief Introduction to the New Testament is wonderful. And I believe there's a new edition that is slated to come out within the next year or so. So that's where I would start with as a beginner. What does the data say about the Protestant idea of predestination and sola scriptura, sola fide? Those are historically contingent developments from the period of the Reformation that arose because of certain arguments and disputations between the church and different theologians and thinkers arising from the rise of rationalism following the Renaissance and into the Enlightenment. So we had natural religion over and against revealed religion, and those debates and that kind of milieu is what's responsible for the development of those ideas. But they don't arise ex nihilo out of the scriptures. They're not ideologies that are promoted by anyone who wrote anything that ended up in the Bible. I have had recommendations for a reading list, but no, I don't have any. Don't have anything yet. I will probably get around to that at some point soon. Okay, the comments refreshed. So let me. I'm gonna. Hello from Chicago. Hi, Jimmy. Last time I was in Chicago, it's probably been 5 or 6 years. Wonderful town. I need to get back there too. I just showed my kids Ferris Bueller's Day Off last week, which is kind of the love letter to John Hughes's love letter to Chicago. So that made me miss the city a bit. Mike Heiser used Colossians, excuse me, 1:16 for creation ex nihilo. That is, most scholars would say that's not creation ex nihilo. That's more reflective of a kind of Aristotelian idea of creation coming from unformed matter, and this idea that matter can be either in the realm of being when it has form and function, or in the realm of non-being when it does not have form and function. So unformed raw matter would be matter that is uk onton or mi onton, without being or non-being. But that is manifestly not creation ex nihilo, which as a doctrine developed in the late 2nd century CE. And that is the academic consensus, that it was a development of Christian debates with Gnostics and other Greco-Roman thinkers, and it arose in the late 2nd century CE. Corey asks, between Didascally, the podcast, your various channels, there's a lot of places to support your work. Where is the best place? I think the best place, I have kind of multiplied the different channels where that can happen. I think a place I'm going to focus on is I have a couple Patreons. One is associated with my podcast, but I have my own personal Patreon, patreon.com/MAKLELAN. I would say that's the one that I'm focusing the most on, or will focus the most on in the future. So if somebody is asking me to pick one, that would probably be the one that I would direct people to. Have you got around to reading Jonathan Adler's book? I'm about a third of the way through it, and it's been great so far. I think it's making a wonderful case. A lot of it is dependent on the specific definition of Judaism that Adler asserts, and I'm not a huge fan of definitions to begin with, so there are some quibbles that one could make with that. But accepting his definition, I think he's making a pretty compelling case so far, but we'll see. And everything refreshed. Do you like any music from the Mormon Tabernacle Choir? I do. I like a lot of the music from the choir, although I think they're called now Tabernacle Choir Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square is the name now, once Mormon became anathema. Just watched your new video on the development of Hell. Why do you think ECT won out over the other views? That's an interesting question that I've got to look deeper into. Without without having looked closely at any scholarship that has examined the post-biblical discourse, I would say it probably has to do with the weight of that threat for those who wanted to leverage the threat of hell as a motivation for folks. So I think the utility of the concept of hell as a way to influence and control behavior, I think, was definitely salient. I don't know if that is the reason. I don't know if there are things that I'm not aware of in the discourse that took place, but that's what I would say off the top of my head. Will they be coming out with a new Oxford annotated version of the NRSV UE anytime soon? I imagine they'll want to get around to that at some point. I am not aware of plans, so I couldn't tell you. All right, things are refreshing again. Sorry, I'm getting messages on my phone /watch/computer. Any books you recommend to better understand the Book of Mormon from a historical and linguistic perspective? Yeah, actually, do I have it here? One second. There are two books that I would recommend. One is called Producing Ancient Scripture: Joseph Smith's Translation Projects in the Development of Mormon Christianity. It's an edited volume by the University of Utah Press. It is filled with a number of wonderful essays. In fact, I believe this is, it has the essay with Tom Wayment. So where did it go? Recovered resource. Yeah, Tom Wayment and Haley Wilson Lemon. A recovered resource, the use of Adam Clark's Bible commentary and Joseph Smith's Bible translation. That is a wonderful contribution. Don Bradley and Mark Ashurst McGee have a wonderful paper on the Kinderhook plates. I think they make a compelling case that what happened is one of the characters, like front and center on one of the Kinderhook plates, looks an awful lot like a character from Joseph Smith's Egyptian alphabet. And so he recognized that and went, ooh, that looks like this character that means all this, and probably got very excited thinking, oh, this is from this same language, and I've got the key to interpreting it. And so probably based on seeing that one character, the translation that he is purported to have offered overlaps an awful lot with the way, with what he said that translation meant in his Egyptian alphabet. And so he probably wanted to bring all of them back and then go through and see if he could cobble together a translation, and then realized there was nothing else anywhere in the Kinderhook plates that lined up with anything in his Egyptian alphabet, and so abandoned the project. I think that's a really good paper. Another great book edited by my friend Colby Townsend, Envisioning Scripture, just came out a little bit ago. Joseph Smith's Revelations in Their Early American Context. And the one paper I'll highlight in here is the very last one, Jared Hickman's paper, The Book of Mormon as Amerindian Apocalypse. It's a really good paper. So in terms of historical and linguistic context, I would recommend those two books highly. Many of the scholars who contributed to those volumes are LDS. Many of them are not. Thoughts on True Christian Ministry's new vid on you? I have not seen. I don't know who True Christian Ministry is or what their new vid is. But if it is an apologetics outfit, then okay. Now I recognize that that individual. I didn't know they posted something recently on me. Oh. Looks like I'm blocked. So yeah, no thoughts as of yet. Hi, Wayne. Hi, Kippy. You are always in front of the computer, aren't you, Kip? Probably just about as much as me. Who is the suffering servant? I think traditionally it's been understood as a personification of Israel. That's the overwhelming consensus among Jewish readers of the text. I think most scholars would say that is how it was being used anciently. It was only after the development of the Jesus tradition that Jesus stepped into that role. Okay, everything updated again. Let me see if I can. Hi, Captain Dadpool. Welcome. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Hope the kids are doing all right. I am getting ready to send my kids back to school, which is bittersweet because it'll be nice to have them out of the house. I will now have all three of my children in all-day school, so that'll be nice. But at the same time, I'll be sad to not have them around, and it means I also have to drive people to high school early in the morning. At least one person to high school anyway. Was the Logos always associated with Jesus? So no, the Logos is a concept that we find in Greco-Roman period Judaism. In fact, it's a concept that is discussed in the writings of Philo, who is writing before we have John 1. And Philo refers to the Logos as a second God, which I think is very interesting. And it occurs within a philosophical context that makes it's a little more nuanced than just thinking of it as polytheism. But I think it provides an interesting context for understanding John 1. And even as late as around 150 CE with Justin Martyr, we have Justin Martyr, who is also philosophically educated, who is referring to the Logos as another God. So some interesting stuff in Philo provides some interesting and important context to understanding how philosophically educated Christians like Paul, like the author of John, like the apologists of the 2nd century are approaching these questions. Do you have any advice on how to read through all of the primary sources as fast as possible? Apart from just getting a good translation of them and reading through them all, I don't know that I would have any recommendations. You can find reading lists out there for reading through chronologically, but that's based on different people's reconstructions of the chronology of the composition of the text. Somebody asked about the texts outside the Bible that inform the Bible, the context of the biblical text, and I pointed them to a 3-volume text published by Brill called The Context of Scripture, which is a phenomenal resource that provides mythological and other types of texts from Egypt, from Anatolia, from the Canaanite world, from Mesopotamia, from all around. And so if you want to look at primary texts that inform the development of the Bible, then I would recommend that. Hey, Dave, looking forward to tomorrow. I am too. Everybody, my friend David Burnett is going to be, we're going to be talking to him tomorrow when we record the Data Over Dogma podcast about his dissertation. And I'm still looking forward to getting a little outline from David about what we're going to talk about. But keep an eye out for this Monday. Okay. Sorry, reminder about a meeting I have coming up in a couple of hours. Yeah, keep an eye out. It should be this Monday. Yeah, almost positive it'll come out this coming Monday. Interview with David Burnett, who is a PhD candidate at University of Edinburgh right now. All right, what do you think about Michael Heiser and his Old Testament interpretations? I think Mike did a lot to advance the discussion, at least within a Christian context, of particularly the nature of other gods and the reality of the recognition of other gods in the Hebrew Bible. He and I disagree about things like whether or not the conceptualization of Adonai's nature and relationship to the other gods went through periods of development or whether it was static since the earliest periods. So we disagreed on some things, but I respected him as a person, considered him a friend, and I'm glad for what he did for evangelical understanding of the Old Testament. Alrighty. How do you feel about being a public academic in this time of anti-intellectualism? Well, I'm ecstatic that it has provided a means for me to return to the world of the academy on a full-time basis. I have always wanted to be able to get back into teaching and researching, but the jobs at universities are few and far between these days. Even they've always been that way, but even more so over the last 15 years or so. And so that this provides me an opportunity to get back into researching and writing and creating content for public consumption. I'm as happy as I could possibly be. So the fact that there's a lot of anti-intellectualism out there and I'm positioning myself as a public scholar is a little daunting, but at the same time, it just means that I will never lack work. So I'm happy about that. Best critical commentary on Isaiah. Oh gosh, I think there's the Hermeneia series is my favorite when it comes to critical commentaries. And I know that, hang on a second, I'm gonna make sure I have it. No, they have, yeah, Roberts. First Isaiah, they released, JJM Roberts released a commentary on First Isaiah in 2015 in the Hermeneia series that I think is phenomenal. And my understanding is that Second Isaiah should be coming out soon. Let me see if they have. Deutero Isaiah. Okay, so there's an old one by Baltzer, Cole, and Machinist from 2001 on Deutero Isaiah. I thought there was a new one coming out. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, anything in the Hermeneia series is going to be great. I think the Anchor Bible commentary is good, but yeah. Also, the Old Testament library frequently has good commentaries. The Marvin Sweeney's commentary, I would quibble with some of the things that Sweeney concludes in his commentary, but he's got a really good commentary on Isaiah. I know he's got at least one on the first 6 chapters of Isaiah, 1 through 39. So he's got one on 1 through 39. That's an older one. Does he have a newer one? He might not have a newer one. Marvin Sweeney's got a good one as well. So yeah, I would say the Hermeneia, the Anchor, and the Old Testament library are probably the 3 commentary series I would go to first. Question: would you be interested in debating Christian apologists? No. Debates, in my opinion, primarily function as just kind of performative identity politics. I think issues should be debated in print, where people have time to adequately consider issues, to do the research, to verify claims, to look up sources, to get better informed about things that someone might not know about. If you're standing on a stage, somebody can claim almost anything at all, and the other person is on the spot and may not have the knowledge or the awareness of the sources, or even access to the sources to be able to correct something that is false or that is misleading. And so I think so frequently it's just performative, and I just have no interest in that. Batman versus Iron Man, who wins? I would hope Batman, but yeah, that would be interesting. I'd have to think about that. I know that they've done crossover things. I don't know if Batman went head to head with Iron Man in some of those crossovers that they've done. But who did I see them going? And I think Batman fought Captain America. But yeah, I don't know. It's been a while since I've looked at that. Hi there, Dan. I've been enjoying your work. I've wanted to ask you if you are aware of anyone doing similar work as yourself with regard to dharmic religions, e.g. Buddhism. Thank you. And I am not aware of anybody who's doing work very similar to mine on social media. I know there are folks out there who are trying to get into the social media arena, who work in religious studies in general and who do other types of biblical studies. I have spoken with people who work in that area, but none who are trying to break into social media. So I don't think I can help you there. Best two commentaries on Ephesians: one Pauline pro and one con. Ephesians is not one of my stronger ones. Darrell Bock has one in the Tyndale New Testament commentaries. That's probably going to be pro Pauline. Let me see what Bock says there. Okay, he's taking the long road. Theological differences, yada yada. Yada yada. Summary on authorship. He says, weighing all these factors, several pages of factors, suggests that this letter is more likely to be from Paul than from someone trying to imitate him or even represent him. Given Pauline authorship in a prison setting, a date in the early 60s becomes likely for reasons we now turn to show. So that's a commentary I have from Darrell Bock that is pro Pauline. I don't know that Hermeneia might not have an Ephesians volume yet. Let me check it out. If they do, it might be from the 70s. Okay, explore forthcoming titles. What do they got coming out? New Testament. Okay. Titles under contract. First and second. Okay, so there's an Ephesians one by Gregory Sterling that is under contract. So that will probably be within the next maybe 5 years or so. That one should come out. And that one's probably the one I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to. And I assume that it's going to be contra Pauline authorship. Is Dan McClellan Mormon? I've watched a lot of videos and thought he was an atheist. I am an active member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I've got two recent videos mentioning that. But I do not talk about my beliefs at all on my personal religious beliefs at all on social media. Whoop. When did your beard start going gray? It wasn't the last time I grew it out anywhere near this length was 10 years ago in Bellingham, and it was not gray. So within the last 10 years, probably 5 or so years ago. Do you know Michael Heiser and his work? I knew Michael Heiser and his work. I considered him a friend, even though we disagreed on some social and political issues. And I know his work well. We presented one after the other in a couple of different conferences addressing similar issues, and even went back and forth on our blogs debating things. So yeah, we knew each other for a while. Whoop. Okay, the comments updated again. Dr. McClellan, do you suppose you'll ever get a chance to do a video on Jude, where it came from, who wrote, why, when, how it became canon? Is Jude a Jesus bro? Thanks, friend. That's a good idea. Something that I contemplated doing a while ago that I never got around to was doing a series where I would try to take 5 to 8 or 9 minutes or so and kind of break down the historical context, the authorship, the rhetorical goals, the literary framing of a book from the Bible. So I need to do that soon. And something like Jude would be a really easy one to do because it would be fairly short. Hi, Dan. Is it true that ancient Israelites were polytheistic? If so, how much should modern Christians care? I don't think I don't like the category of polytheistic, nor do I like the category of monotheistic. But ancient Israelites believed that many gods existed. That is pretty clear. And so what they thought about them, where they placed them in the hierarchy of deity, that's something that changes over time. But yeah, we don't have what we understand today as monotheism until many centuries after the Bible was written. And my friend David Burnett and I and a number of other people are going to be holding a conference at Brown University next, I believe, May, where we will be talking precisely about the problems with identifying monotheism in the Bible and within early Christianity and Judaism. Whoop, everything updated again. I'm not going to be able to get to everybody's comments. I apologize for that, but they keep updating and I keep having to scroll back, but I'm doing what I can. Thank you to everybody saying they love the podcast. I love the podcast too. Looking forward to a handful of interviews that we're going to be doing with some guests starting tomorrow with my good friend David Burnett, who was in Israel with me back in June. And he's going to be talking about his dissertation, which will be related to resurrection and deification. And I imagine we'll talk about monotheism too. At Dan, how do you feel about schmucks like me that use your videos for counter apologetics? You do you is how I feel about it. I've got no issue with that. As someone who's firmly convinced of the death of the author, I don't have any ownership over my content, at least beyond what the law allows. So, yeah, share away. Oh, somebody says they found a sterling paper on prayer in Ephesians. He's definitely Pauline Kahn. So my assumption was correct. Thank you for letting me know about that. Aaron asks, what's it going to take to convince you that the neo-documentary hypothesis is the bee's knees? If Joel Baden can't convince me, it's going to take at least dinner, at least. But yeah, we'll see. I'm still in the. I don't know if the theory that I prefer has a name, because it doesn't really strike me that the supplementary or the fragmentary hypothesis really hits the target for me. So I'm kind of a mix of theories. Whoop. Everything. I think I just saw a question. Oh, are you still considering offering a class teaching Hebrew? That got complicated real quick. For those who don't know, I had someone ask if I would be able to teach like a twice a week biblical Hebrew introduction over the course of 3 months. So basically like a university class. And I mulled it over for a long time and thought about maybe finding a way to make it happen for this fall, but my schedule got so jam-packed that if I did it, it would be asynchronous. It would be videos that I recorded when I could, that I uploaded, that people would go get access to. But in order to do that, it would take up an awful lot of time. So I would need to charge an awful lot of money to make it worth that time for me. Just because this is my full-time job now, and so I have to be careful with the time that I have. And so I wanted to make it worth what I would have to charge. I wanted to make sure that people were getting actual live attention and being able to ask questions and get feedback and things like that in real time. So if I do it, the majority of the classes I would want to be live. And so my schedule for the rest of the year will not allow for it this year. But I do think that's a wonderful idea. I would like to be able to find a way to do that in the future that made it worth my time, but also was accessible to folks who can't afford to pay a ton of money for something like that. So I'm still trying to figure it out. So it's not going to happen this year, but the cause is not lost. Believe in God and anatomy. She refers to it not as monotheism, but as pantheon reduction. Pantheon reduction is a term that Seth Sanders used in a 2015 paper, I think. And it wouldn't surprise me if Francesca adopted that idea. But yeah, I think pantheon reduction is a good way to describe it. And in my book, and even more directly in my doctoral dissertation, I talk about the boundaries of deity kind of constricting around the God of Israel. So something very similar to this concept of pantheon reduction. And that was my Discord update noise. So I know we have some people here who are on the Discord as well. Okay. Do your kids think it's cool you're a popular TikToker? I suspect that my 14-year-old thinks it's cool, but she mainly makes fun of me about it. We were at Comic-Con. No. We were at Disneyland last year, and somebody recognized me at Disneyland and came up and said hi, in the great mass of people that are at Disneyland. And she was like, "Ooh, Dad, it's one of your fans." So she gives me a hard time. My two younger girls, I don't know that they're entirely aware of social media and its reach and everything. So I don't know how they feel about that. Anyone have a good and broad definition of a God? I do. Well, kinda. So in my book, Adonai's Divine Images, I have a chapter. Chapter 1 actually is entitled, "What is a Deity?" And I spend how many pages? 21 through 50. So I spend 29 pages talking about not only the practice of definition, but how we conceptualize categories and how deity was conceptualized. And so where do I come to the conclusion? The most direct answer to the question posed by the title of this chapter is rather simple, if a bit disappointing. A deity is whatever a group says is a deity. So because words mean whatever people use them to mean, because the word deity is used to refer to a wide variety of things, and because we cannot delineate it and prescribe the boundaries of that conceptual category, a deity is whatever someone calls a deity. And the conceptualization is stronger and more clear the more people agree with whatever a group calls a deity. Question: do you think that the NT writers have differing views about Jesus? Absolutely. They have very differing views about Jesus. Dan, with your love of comics, how good of an artist are you? Do you draw, sketch, doodle? Yes. I used to have a bit of a side hustle doing portrait work, and particularly in charcoal. So this is a portrait I did of my wife and me for our wedding announcement 17 years ago. But when I was growing up, there were things I wanted to be when I was growing up. If it was the spring or the summer, I wanted to be a professional golfer. If it was the fall or the winter, I wanted to be a comic book artist. And so I've done a lot of cartoons / comic book style art. I was the cartoonist for the magazine Biblical Archaeology Review, which did a cartoon caption contest in every one of their issues. I did that for a couple of years. Hang on, give me 1 second. I'm going to pull out a sketchbook. If I can find it. There. Okay, now this is the easiest one for me to find. This sketchbook is 25 years old. So some of these drawings are very old. Here's something I did in high school. So I was...
Get that. Could you try again?
No. So I was in high school. I was like, I'm going to just cover this paper in charcoal and then use an eraser to create a drawing. So I did that one. I've done cartoons. So I don't know if you can read this, but this is a chicken scratchy thing that says, Joseph, sorry, I needed the cash, Moroni, which if you're a Latter-day Saint will be funny. And if you're not, you may not have any context for that. I did a bunch of cartoons, comic strips as a missionary. I know I have some comic book art in here somewhere. Oh, little Nightcrawler that I did a while ago. Kid who's 25 years old now. When I knew him in person, he went by Juancito in Uruguay, and he loved giving me the thumbs up. But yeah, I think has kids now. So yes, I do comic book art. I do cartoons. I do comic strips. I do portrait work and stuff like that. But I never really got any formal training. It was just kind of a raw skill that I never adequately developed, and so never turned into something like that I could do full time or anything like that. But I still love to draw, and I owe my daughter. She requested a while ago I draw a portrait of her like I did for her older sister, and so I have the picture I'm going to use, but I haven't gotten around to do that yet. Hey, Dan, did ancient Israelites have any distinction between magic and their own cultic worship? Yeah, there was. It develops within the authoritative literature. I don't know how firmly they distinguish magic from what they were allowed to do anciently, but in some of the literature, there's certainly a distinction. And it was basically what deity, what divine agency you were trying to appeal to. Because however you define magic, it's hard to define it in a way that does not include whatever people are doing in relation to God in the Bible. And so, but if you try to define it or delineate it from an emic perspective, from within the worldview, you are going to try to distinguish what you're doing that is allowed from what everybody else is doing that is not allowed. And I address that a little bit in my book as well when I talk about accessing divine agency and how they kind of drew a line around people from other groups who did it in a way that they didn't like, and they would label it magic and distinguish it from what they were doing, even though all the features were identical. Oop, everything updated again. Cartoonist for a biblical archaeological publication, that may be the geekiest thing ever. I agree. One of the geekiest things ever. I wonder if I have... Hang on just a minute. Okay, I have a stack of the Biblical Archaeology Review magazines. I'm going to see if I can find the first one that I did, because I decided to come out of the gate swinging. So let me see if I have the first one. I think the first one I did is hilarious, and you may not, but it wasn't in the very last page for a while. It was in the middle, I think. A Jeremy Smokes article. Where did it go? They always made these things hard to find. No, that's not it. Maybe it's here. Master of the house. Ooh, got it. Why do they do this? Sorry, this is dead air. Oh, there's Bob. Bob Cargill. He was the editor in chief, who was a friend of mine, who said, "Hey, do you want to do this for us?" Okay, so this is the drawing. This is David offering a bag of, hopefully you know what, to Saul. And so the contest was to come up with a caption for that cartoon. And I don't remember what the winning caption was, but I probably have the issue where the winning caption was revealed. That ain't it. Biblical Archaeology Review, when Bob Cargill was the editor-in-chief, was a very high-quality magazine. I think it is not as high quality now as it used to be. There we go. Okay, so this is the winning caption. And I don't even know if you can read it. I don't know if you're seeing it backwards or not. Are these tips tax deductible? And then runners up. After 200 of these things, everyone was getting crotchety. And another runner up, probably best not to regift these. So that was, yes, incredibly geeky stuff, but I tried to give it a little bit of a McClellan edge. Wannabe Scholar asks, why did Adonai and Asherah get divorced? It's probably about time for me to address that on my channel again. So basically, you had most of the cult sites in Israel and Judah get destroyed at the end of the 8th century BCE when Sennacherib came through. So during the time of Hezekiah. And this created what's we refer to as a de facto cult centralization. Because Jerusalem was spared and that temple was spared, that temple was still operative. And as the only operative temple, that's where all of the cultic focus was now trained, just because there was no other option. And so all of the worship was being channeled into Jerusalem. And we have the kings between Hezekiah and Josiah that seem to be trying to restore the older worship. And then we get to Josiah, and it seems that Josiah was kind of like, no, I kind of like everybody having to come to Jerusalem. And so he conveniently has a book of the law found in the temple. And lo and behold, it looks like we have been neglecting all these laws all along, and all these laws just happen to formalize everything, turn this de facto cult centralization into a de jure cult centralization. And the fact that it all benefits me is just, luck of the draw, I guess. So that is the beginning of the Deuteronomistic literature, the early core of Deuteronomy, which then gets expanded on in the later centuries. But basically, my argument is that there is no formal institutionalized opposition to the worship of Asherah as the consort of Adonai until Josiah decides, I like things restricted the way they are, and so we are going to formalize all of this. And then you have to get rid of everything that remains. And so this is part of that pantheon reduction as the divine council and the pantheon gets restricted more and more around Adonai as the only God you're supposed to worship. And then the rest of the divine council is, I argue, in the post-exilic period in Psalm 82 is deposed. That's the whole, you are gods, but you will die like men. You're being demoted. You're being cast out of the divine council and out of your divinity. You're going to be like humans. And they're still around, obviously. And so they say, fine, you're angels now. And so they all get categorized as angels. And then into the New Testament, we have other philosophical ideas that come in to try to make sense of what's going on. But the focus gets restricted more and more around just Adonai. You could definitely make graphic novels of the Bible if you wanted. That's amazing artwork. Thank you. I've thought about doing that in the past, but it's an awful lot of work. So if maybe when I retire, or maybe if somebody offers me a ton of money to do something like that, I will commit to that. But it would take a long time. Any contemporary philosophers you're into? Not really. I'm not a huge fan of philosophy, and I know it will pain a lot of people to hear that, but like I spend so much time focusing on cognitive science and cognitive linguistics and textual criticism and historical criticism and these kinds of things that I don't have much time to focus on what's going on in philosophy. But and I like sociology. And speaking of the intersection of what I do and sociology, Andrew Whitehead is a sociologist who works on sociology of religion. Just published a book called American Idolatry: How Christian Nationalism Betrays the Gospel and Threatens the Church. He sent me a copy of it early. It comes out, what's today? The 9th? Comes out on the 15th. And this has been an excellent book so far. But if you're interested in the intersection of sociology and contemporary events, I would highly recommend picking up that book. Hey, Dan, how are you doing? I'm doing well. I got back from a run a bit ago and had some lunch, and I very much need a shower. So when my wife and girls get home, they're going to remind me of that if I don't take care of that before they get home. Is Dan wearing shorts? Are you under his desk? Well, I am wearing shorts because I just got back from a run. Matt asks, can you tell us more about the round of golf you played under par the other day? It was a wonderful round of golf. I had a tee time the day before at a golf course here in Utah called South Mountain, which I really like. It's a tricky course, but I think it's a very creative course. I love the elevation changes. And we had this enormous thunderstorm roll through the night before, and there was flooding that damaged a lot of the course. So they actually closed the course down, and I don't know if it's opened back up yet, but they canceled my tee time. And so I was like, I need to get out this weekend to play golf. And so I got out the next day, Saturday, but I couldn't get a tee time till like 3 p.m. So I played late, and it was a course that I'd only played like once, maybe 5 years ago. That's over by USANA Amphitheater in Utah, called the Ridges. And yeah, I started off with 4 bogeys in a row, so I was very unhappy. I 3-putted 3 of the first 4 holes and 2-putted the fourth. And then I managed to get 2 birdies in a row after that. And so I steadied the ship, and then I finished the day with a couple more bogeys and 5 more birdies for a 1 under par 71. And I haven't broken par in 10 years. Because I've only been able to play golf like maybe 3 or 4 times a year. But now that I have the new full-time work that I'm doing, and I have more time and more money, I can get out and play a little bit more golf, and it has been lovely. And I am very excited to be able to start playing golf more frequently. I love that you're not only a biblical scholar, but also a geek. I knew it because I checked on your page. I might be wrong, but I saw you had TMNT t-shirt. Are you into video games? I'm not really into video games anymore. I was when I was growing up, and TMNT was a great game for the Nintendo way back when. I think after, like, GoldenEye was the last video game I played seriously. And that was my first semester at the University of my only semester at the University of Northern Colorado. I played a lot of GoldenEye. I smoked a lot of pot. I drank a lot of SoCo, bounced a lot of checks to Pizza Hut, and I got in a lot of fights. And so the University of Northern Colorado decided that it would be better if I did not return for the next semester. And I have had other things occupying my attention ever since. So I haven't really played video games since then. I'm very excited to see the new movie. I'm going to take my 14-year-old daughter, and we'll probably go see that this week at some point. And yeah, I still remember I saw the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie in the theater with my grandmother when I don't even remember, I might have been 10. And I got the VHS of that movie. And to this day, I still remember every single word to the song. The Pizza Hut commercial at the beginning of the movie had a song about Little League Baseball. And I still remember every single word to that song because I watched it so many times. What do we know? David asks, what do we know about the rituals of First Temple Judaism? How much was retained and what was lost? We don't know a ton, but we have to try to reconstruct what we can from the archaeological data that is available from other temples that we have found. So we found a temple at Arad in the southern desert. Just a few years ago, we found a temple at a place called Tel Motzah, which is just a few miles west of the northern end of Jerusalem. And we found cultic instruments and some texts and other things associated with these temples. And we can try to infer, based on what we find in those other temples, about the rituals of First Temple Judaism. But because we don't really have access to the land to excavate where the first temple was located, and most of the literature that we have that reflects on temple rituals comes from after the destruction of the first temple, we have to be very careful about how we reconstruct it. Probably the standard discussion of that in the literature is a book by a scholar named Zioni Zevet. And his book was called Israelite or Religions of Ancient Israel. And then I'm pulling it up because I want to get the subtitle correct. A Synthesis of Parallactic Approaches. I don't even know what that means, but that's a wonderful book from 2001 that basically tries to catalog all of the data that we have about the rituals from First Temple Judaism. So if you want the standard discussion of that, Zioni Zevet, Religions of Ancient Israel from 2001 is the way to go. Funniest part in the Bible? There are some people who will know, who will have a better idea than me. There is satire in the Bible. I think probably the Book of Jonah probably concentrates the most kind of comedy in the Bible. But at the end, when God is arguing with Jonah and says, you wanted me to kill all these people? Well, what about all this nice cattle? I think there's some sarcasm in that. Okay, it sounds like the garage door is opening, which means my wife and girls are back, and we just hit 58 minutes, so just shy of an hour. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. I appreciate the wonderful questions. Thank you, everybody, for dropping by and saying hi. I could not possibly get to all the questions, but thank you so much. And don't hesitate to ask your questions if I didn't get to them today, the next time I see you. And I am still hoping that I'll be able to do this more regularly, apart from the Patreon live streams. Just jump on lives across my different social media platforms, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok regularly in the future. So thank you so much for your time and for the wonderful questions. Hope you all are having a wonderful week, and I will see you all around.